My wife missed our son's second birthday to attend her high school sweetheart's wedding, saying, "Weddings only happen once." When she came home, divorce papers were waiting, along with proof she'd been planning to leave me for him the whole time. Hello Reddit I+ here. My name is Caleb Foster, I'm 32 years old, and a month ago, I thought I was living the kind of life most people only dream about: a stable marriage, a beautiful home, and a little boy who lit up every corner of it with laughter. But everything I believed about my wife, about us, crumbled the moment she chose another man's wedding over our son's birthday. I met Lena when I was 24, during a friend's engagement party. She was a photographer, bright, witty, with a smile that made people want to tell her everything about themselves. I was an architect, fresh out of grad school, working insane hours but somehow always finding time to text her good morning. Our relationship grew quickly. Within a year, we moved in together. 2 years later, we got married. We built what I thought was a partnership. We talked about our dreams, about raising children who'd feel loved every single day. When our son, Noah, was born, Lena cried harder than I'd ever seen her cry. She held him against her chest, whispering promises about being there for every birthday, every milestone, every moment. I believed her. Lena grew up in a small town called Maple Hollow, 3 hours from where we live now. Most of her childhood friends still live there, and she kept in touch with them through social media. I never minded. I thought it was sweet that she still valued her roots. But around 6 months ago, she started talking about one person more than usual: Ryan Hale. He was her high school sweetheart, the first love she used to mention in passing. From what I knew, they'd dated for a couple of years, then split when he went off to another state for college. I didn't think much of it. At first, she just mentioned that he had reached out, wanting to catch up before his wedding. He was marrying someone named Allison, and they'd invited a bunch of old classmates. When Lena first got the message, she laughed about how strange it was hearing from him after so long. But soon, she was checking her phone more often, smiling at messages she didn't show me, saying, "It's just Ryan being nostalgic." I brushed it off. I trusted her. That trust would become my biggest mistake. 3 months later, a cream-colored envelope arrived. I still remember the embossed gold lettering, "Ryan and Allison. Together forever." Lena's eyes lit up when she opened it. "He invited me." He even wrote a personal note, said it wouldn't feel right if I wasn't there. I nodded, pretending to care. But when she started talking about what she'd wear, where she'd stay, and how it would be so nice to see everyone again, I felt something cold twist inside me. Then I noticed the date, June 15th, the same day as Noah's second birthday. The argument. I thought she'd laugh it off when I pointed it out. "Obviously we can't go," I said. "Noah's party is that day." But Lena didn't laugh. Instead, she hesitated, and said the words that shattered something inside me. "Caleb, weddings only happen once. Noah won't even remember his second birthday. We can celebrate it the next day." I remember staring at her, trying to process what I'd just heard. "You're saying you'll miss our son's birthday to go to your ex-boyfriend's wedding?" She frowned, defensive. "Don't call him that. He's a friend. And yes, I already promised him I'd come. It's important to him." "Important to him?" I asked, my voice rising. "What about what's important to your family?" That conversation spiraled into a week of tension. Every night, the same fight in different words. Me begging her to see how wrong it was. Her insisting I was trying to control her. She said I was jealous. She said I was making her choose between her past and her present. I said she already had. She just didn't realize what it meant yet. 2 days before the wedding, Lena's mother called. She'd heard what was going on and tried talking sense into her daughter. Even she couldn't believe Lena would miss Noah's birthday, but Lena was set on going. She packed her suitcase that Friday morning. A light blue dress folded neatly beside her heels. The perfume she wore on our wedding day tucked into the side pocket. She kissed Noah on the forehead and said, "Mommy will be back soon, okay? We'll celebrate later." He laughed, clapping his little hands, not understanding that his mother had just chosen to miss one of the few birthdays he'd ever have as a toddler. When she drove off, I stood in the doorway holding our son, watching her car disappear. I felt like I was watching my marriage fade with it. The next day was sunny, painfully so. Our backyard was decorated with blue and white balloons, a bounce house inflated near the fence, and a table full of food my mother helped prepare. Family and friends came, bringing gifts wrapped in bright paper. Everyone kept asking, "Where's Lena?" I lied, said she had a last-minute family emergency. I couldn't bring myself to tell the truth. Noah had the time of his life. He laughed, smeared frosting all over his face, and squealed when everyone sang happy birthday. But every time I looked at that empty chair beside me, the one Lena should have been sitting in, my chest tightened. Halfway through the party, my phone buzzed. A message from Lena. The wedding's beautiful. Ryan looks so happy. You'd love the venue. It's at that lake I told you about. I stared at the screen. No mention of Noah. No happy birthday, baby. Just her and Ryan, living in some nostalgic bubble like the last decade never happened. That night, after everyone left and Noah was asleep, I sat alone in the living room and made a decision. The return. Lena came home Sunday afternoon, humming as she carried her suitcase inside. She smelled like someone else's cologne. Faint, but there. She looked bright-eyed, glowing, like she'd come back from a honeymoon instead of another man's wedding. "I got Noah a little toy car," she said, pulling it from her bag. "He's going to love it." I didn't respond. She started telling me stories, how Ryan's vows made everyone cry, how the reception was perfect, how she danced with all her old friends. I waited until she stopped talking, then said quietly, "Lena, I want a divorce." The words froze her mid-breath. "What?" she whispered, as if she hadn't heard me right. "I said I want a divorce," I repeated, standing up. "I already spoke with an attorney. The papers will be ready tomorrow." Her face went pale. "You're overreacting. It was just a wedding." "It wasn't just a wedding," I interrupted. "It was our son's birthday. You chose him over Noah. You chose your past over your family." She started crying then. Big, messy sobs that might have once broken me, but all I felt was emptiness. She said she thought we agreed to celebrate later, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that I was blowing things out of proportion, but I'd heard enough lies to know the truth. She'd been emotionally gone long before she drove away that Friday morning. I handed her the papers the next evening when she came downstairs, still tear-stained. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just told her what she'd taught me, that actions speak louder than promises. A month has passed since then. Noah still asks for his mom sometimes, but he's too young to understand why she's not around as much. I moved back into my work, spending nights designing buildings that, unlike my marriage, will stand for decades. Sometimes, late at night, I replay everything in my head. The laughter, the small moments that once felt unbreakable. But every time I picture that empty chair at Noah's party, I know I made the right choice. Because love isn't about grand gestures or shared nostalgia. It's about being there when it matters most. And she wasn't. Not for me. Not for him. 2 months had passed since Lena walked out of our home for the last time. 2 months since the house grew quieter, but somehow more peaceful. Noah had adjusted faster than I expected. At 2 years old, he was resilient. His laughter still filled the rooms. His little hands still reached for mine during breakfast, and his sleepy mumbling at night was the only sound that reminded me what home still meant. For me, though, every day felt like balancing on a wire between heartbreak and freedom. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of replaying the what-ifs. Tired of remembering the woman I thought Lena was. But life has a cruel way of testing your peace just when you start to rebuild it. The message. It started with a message. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, Caleb, it's me. Can we talk? Please." I didn't reply. 2 hours later, another message came. "I made a mistake. I just want to explain." By the third message, she sent a picture of Noah's old stuffed bunny she used to keep in her car. "I miss him. I miss both of you." That one hurt, not because I wanted her back, but because it reminded me of a version of her that once existed. The mother who cried holding our newborn son, not the woman who smiled at another man's wedding while missing her own child's birthday. I didn't respond. But 3 days later, she showed up anyway. It was a Saturday morning. I was in the backyard with Noah, helping him build towers out of colorful plastic blocks. He giggled every time the structure fell apart. Then I heard it, the crunch of tires on the driveway. Lena stepped out of her car wearing sunglasses and a forced smile. Her hair was shorter, her frame thinner, as if regret had carved her down to something smaller. "Hey," she said softly. I stood still, not wanting to make a scene in front of Noah. "What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to see him." "Please." Noah spotted her and squealed, "Mommy!" Before I could say anything, he ran to her, arms open. She knelt and hugged him tightly, her shoulders shaking. For a moment, I saw pain flicker across her face. Real pain. We talked briefly inside, mostly about Noah, his new words, how he was doing at daycare, how much he loved his new bedtime book. She listened with watery eyes. Then her voice cracked. "Caleb, I've been so stupid. I can't believe what I did. I thought I was just visiting an old friend's wedding, but I don't know what came over me. I ruined everything." I said nothing. She continued, her tone growing desperate. "Ryan, his marriage fell apart already. He and Allison separated last week. I guess he was never over me. He told me he wished it was me he'd married." I looked at her, realizing she was waiting for a reaction. Maybe sympathy, maybe jealousy. Instead, I said quietly, Then I guess you both got what you wanted, she flinched. That's not fair. No, I replied. What wasn't fair was missing your son's birthday because you couldn't say no to nostalgia. Her eyes filled with tears again. I thought you'd forgive me eventually. You always did before. This isn't forgetting to call home or leaving dishes in the sink, I said. This was choosing someone else over your family. She tried to reach for my hand. Can't we just start over? Please. For Noah's sake, I pulled my hand away. Starting over would mean pretending I didn't see who you really are. I won't do that again. Over the following weeks, Lena tried harder. She called every few days, sent long messages about missing our life together, showed up unannounced with gifts for Noah, puzzles, storybooks, clothes that were a size too small. But what broke my sympathy completely was something I discovered by accident. One night, she dropped off a small bag of toys at the door. Inside, along with a few of Noah's things, was a folded sheet of paper, a printed message thread. Curiosity made me read it. It was a conversation between Lena and Ryan. Ryan, if things don't work with Allison, you know I still care about you. Lena, maybe it's fate. Caleb's been distant lately. He's more like a roommate than a husband, Ryan. Maybe the universe is giving us another chance. Lena, I just wish you'd said that before your wedding. The messages were dated 3 weeks before she left for the wedding. That was when I understood. She hadn't gone just to support an old friend. She'd gone chasing something she'd been secretly hoping to rekindle. I didn't confront her. I didn't need to. The truth had already burned away any last piece of love I might have had left. One Sunday evening, Lena stopped by again. She brought cookies, Noah's favorite, and asked if we could all have dinner like old times. I agreed, mostly for Noah's sake. She sat at the table, laughing too loudly, pretending everything was normal, but I could see the cracks in her smile. When Noah went to bed, she finally said what she'd come to say. I know I've lost you, but Caleb, can we at least try to be friends? I can't stand the thought of you hating me. I looked at her, the woman I once thought I'd grow old with, and said, I don't hate you, Lena. I just don't know you anymore. Tears rolled down her face. You're really done, aren't you? Yes, I said. Completely. She nodded slowly, stood up and whispered, You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Caleb. I just realized it too late. Then she left. For good this time. Rebuilding. It's been nearly a year since that day. Noah's 3 now. He loves dinosaurs, toy trucks, and singing off-key. I built a treehouse in the backyard, our weekend project. Every time he climbs up the little ladder, he shouts, Daddy, look! I did it. And I smile, because so did I. I rebuilt what she broke. Not just our home, but myself. Lena moved back to Maple Hollow, from what I've heard. Rumor has it Ryan tried to win her back after his divorce, but she turned him down. Maybe she finally saw how fleeting that kind of love was. Sometimes she calls to talk to Noah, and I let her, because as much as she failed me, she's still his mother, and I refuse to let bitterness become his inheritance. But when I tuck him into bed at night and he asks, Daddy, where's Mommy? I tell him, she lives somewhere else now, buddy, but Daddy's always here. And I mean it, because love, real love, isn't about chasing what's gone. It's about showing up for what's right in front of you, every single day. That's what she never understood. That's what I'll never forget.